Hello and good morning to everyone. I'm Eva as an assistant laboratory of Praktikum Artificial Intelligence. Let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Alif that you can call me Alif or Aam. My student ID is 21240620. So, Eva as an assistant laboratory already told us an assignment to make a video explanation with English about supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So this is my present. Please hear and enjoy. The first thing is supervised learning. That we wanna know what is the definition about supervised learning. What is supervised learning? Supervised learning is a machine learning approach that defined by its use of labeled datasets. These datasets are designed to train or supervise algorithms into classifying data or predicting outcomes accurately. Using label inputs and outputs, the model can measure its accuracy and learn over time. In supervised learning can be separated into two types of problems when data mining. The first thing is classification and the second is regression. So we talk about the classification first. Classification problems use an algorithm to accurately assign the test data into specific categories, such as separating apples from orange, or in the real world, supervised learning algorithms can be used to classifying spam in a separate folder from your inbox. Linear classifier support vector machines, decision tree, and random forest are all common types of classification algorithms. The second is regression. Regression is another type of supervised learning method that uses an algorithm to understand the relationship between dependent and independent variables. Regression models are helpful for predicting numerical values based on different data points, such as sales revenue projection for a given business, and some popular regression algorithms are linear regression, logistic regression, and polynomial regression. After we talk about supervised learning, also we want to know what is unsupervised learning. So I give you all the definition of unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning uses a machine learning algorithm to analyze and cluster unlabeled datasets. These algorithms discover hidden patterns in data without the need for human intervention. So that's why they are unsupervised. In unsupervised learning, models are used for three main tasks. The first is clustering, the second is association, and the third is dimensionally reduction. Clustering data is data mining technique for grouping unlabeled database from grouping unlabeled data based on their similarities or differences. For example, K-mean clustering algorithms assign similar data points into groups where the key value represents the size of grouping and granularity. This technique is helpful for market segmentation, image processing, and etc. Association. Association is another type of unsupervised learning method that uses different rules to find relationship between variables in a given dataset. These methods are frequently used for market basket analysis and recommendation engines. along the lines of customer who bought this item also bought recommendation. So they think like, if this customer bought this type of thing, so they might to buy this item too, because they're also similar and little bit different. And the third is dimensionality reduction. It's a learning technique used when the number of features or dimensions in a given dataset is too high. It reduces the number of data inputs to a manageable size while also preserving the data integrity. Often, this technique is used in the processing data stage, such as when autoencoders remove noise from visual data to improve the quality of picture. After we talk about the definition for the supervised learning and unsupervised learning, we want to know what is the main difference between these two from labeled data. The first we talk about the supervised. In supervised learning, the algorithm learns. So, algorithm learns from the training dataset by iteratively making prediction on the data and adjusting for the correct answer. While supervised learning models tend to be more accurate than unsupervised learning models, they require upfront human intervention to label the data appropriately. For example, a supervised learning model can predict how long you communicate, how long your commute will based on the time of day, weather condition, and so on. But first, you will have to train it to know that rainy weather extends the driving time. Then we talk about the unsupervised learning model. In contrast, work on their own to discover the inherent structure of labeled data. Note that they still require some human intervention for validating output variables. So unsupervised learning needs a human intervention too, but just for validating output variables. For example, an unsupervised learning model can identify that online shoppers often purchase groups of products at the same time. However, the data analyst will need to validate that it makes sense for a recommendation engine to group baby clothes with an order of diapers, applesauce, and sippy cups. And there is some other key difference between the supervised learning and unsupervised learning. But the first is the goals. In supervised learning, the goal is to predict outcomes for new data. Up from the data type of results to expect. With an unsupervised learning algorithm, the goal is to get insight from large volumes of new data. The machine learning itself determines what is the different or interesting from the datasets. The second is application. Supervised learning models are ideal from spam detection, sentiment analysis, weather forecasting, and pricing prediction, among the others. So in contrast, unsupervised learning is a great fit for anomaly detection, recommendation engines, customer personas, and medical imaging. The third is complexity. Supervised learning is a simple method for machine learning, typically calculated through the use of programs like R or Python. In unsupervised learning, you need some more powerful tools for working with large amount of unclassified data. Unsupervised learning models are computationally complex because they need a large training set to produce intent outcomes. And the fourth is drawbacks. Supervised learning model can be time-consuming to train, and the labels for input and output variables require expertise. Meanwhile, the unsupervised learning method can be have widely inaccurate results unless you have human intervention to validate variables. Like the first I already said, unsupervised learning need a human intervention too, but just for the validate the output variables, so the output have more accurate with human intervention in supervised learning. Yeah. So we already talked about the definition supervised learning, the definition of unsupervised learning, some differences between supervised and unsupervised learning. So we want to know what is the best. Okay, so we using VS supervised vs unsupervised learning. So what is the best for us? Choosing the right approach for your situation depends on how your data scientist assess the structure and volume of your data, as well as the use case. So before using, we want to see if this data is more accurate using supervised or unsupervised learning. With these three things that help your decision how to use or how to choose supervised or unsupervised. The first is evaluate your input data. Is it labeled data or unlabeled data? And do you have experts that can support additional labeling? The second, define your goals. Do you have a recurring, well-defined problem to solve, or will the algorithm need to predict new problems? And the third, review your option with 4 algorithms. Are there algorithms with the same dimensionally unit, number of features, attribute, or characteristic? Can they support your data, volume, and structure? And some reason. Classifying big data can be a real challenge in supervised learning, but the results are highly accurate and trustworthy. In contrast, unsupervised learning can handle large volumes of data in real time. So from this you already know what is the most thing that you can be choose. If your data is not really large, you can use the supervised learning. So the results are highly accurate and trustworthy. But if the large volumes data is really large, you can use unsupervised learning. But there's a lack of transparency into how data is clustered and higher risk of inaccurate results. This is where semi-supervised learning comes in. So that's my explanation about the assignment to make a video about supervised learning and unsupervised learning. We already talked about the definition, some differences, the goal, the difference in drawbacks of the decision, and then we already talked about how we choose supervised learning and unsupervised learning for some case. Okay, so just like my video, if there is some explanation that not really understanding, I'm so sorry, and there is some word that might false or some explanation might not be true. I'm so sorry because my education about this is really minimum, and thank you guys about helping me through this assignment, and thank you for watching this video. See you in the next assignment. Goodbye.